This video contains discussions of real-life events involving mental health, firearms, and acts of violence. It is intended for educational and documentary purposes only. Viewer discretion is advised. If you or someone you know is struggling, please reach out to a mental health professional or contact a support organization in your area.
Easy to respond to the town of Lewiston for an active shooter incident. Multiple people down. Multiple victims. Other available transporting units out of Lewiston for active shooter incident. All available units.
We did want to update you on that breaking news situation out of Lewiston, where police have ordered residents to shelter in place.
Easy to respond to the town of Lewiston.
Terror, quite frankly, in the second largest city in our state. A man armed with what appears to be a rifle opening fire tonight at a crowded bowling alley.
An active shooter incident. Multiple people down. Multiple victims. And for active shooter incident, all available units.
Please stay inside your home with the doors locked. Law enforcement is currently investigating at 2 locations right now. Again, please stay off the streets and allow law enforcement to defuse the situation. If you see any suspicious activity or individuals, please call 911.
On October 25, 2023, life in Lewiston, Maine carried on as usual. That was until 6:54 p.m. when Robert Card walked into a local bowling alley and began shooting. It was the longest 45 seconds of those patrons' lives. Card fled the building, and by 7:07 p.m., he had reached a restaurant 4 miles away. As he had done before, Card entered the building and shot multiple people inside while walking towards the cornhole section. At some point, while Card was reloading his rifle, someone turned off the power of the building. Law enforcement alleged that these actions saved many lives. Card fired more shots and left the building through a side exit. Once again, Card fled the scene before law enforcement arrived. In 78 seconds, Card fired 36 times at this location. In total, Card killed 18 people and physically wounded 13 others. The number of those left with mental trauma is unknown. In the 49 hours that followed, a manhunt swept across the region. They were searching for a U.S. Army Reservist, firearms instructor, and longtime Maine resident.
At approximately 6:56 this evening, a couple of shooting incidents occurred here with multiple casualties in the city of Lewiston. And police are currently searching for a Robert R. Card, 4/4 of 1983 of Bowden. Card is considered armed and dangerous.
In the days that followed Card's rampage, headlines focused on the tragedy, the timeline, and the search. But behind each number was a name, a person with a story, a family, a future. They were fathers, mothers, sons, daughters, friends. They gathered to play games, to spend time with their friends, and to share a few ordinary hours. They didn't come home.
This morning, schools, businesses, they are all closed as far away as 50 miles from the shooting scenes as investigators continue to search for the suspect.
Late Thursday, SWAT teams and armored vehicles swarming a home in Bowden, Maine, reportedly connected to the suspect. But still no sign of Card. Hundreds of law enforcement officers combing the area by land, air, and sea.
I want to assure all that a tremendous amount of law enforcement manpower, time, and effort is being utilized around the clock.
Neighbors say the U.S. Army Reservist and firearms instructor knows the area well.
He knows every inch of this. You can barely walk through that area. The woods are so thick.
It would be more than 2 days before authorities would find Card's body at the recycling center where he was previously employed. He had died of a self-inflicted gunshot.
We saw police searching from the air and helicopters, on the ground with foot patrols, even with divers in the water. Now, it's not known exactly when Card died. That is actively under investigation. Officials do say Card's body was found around 7:45 last night.
Robert Card wasn't a delusional teen seeking fame or following a trend, nor was he on a mission to make a political statement. The 40-year-old father of one son had been showing signs of paranoia and delusion for the past several months. This documentary isn't about glorifying the violence or the man who carried it out. It's about understanding how it happened and why so many warning signs were missed. Robert Card's actions were horrific, but his descent into paranoia, delusion, and isolation didn't begin on October 25th. It began long before.
On November 9, 2023, by executive order, Governor Janet T. Mills established the Independent Commission to investigate the facts of the tragedy in Lewiston. This investigation spanned several months and involved countless hours of testimony. While much of it was valuable, we've condensed portions of the material to respect the viewer's time and maintain a focused narrative.
In Sergeant Card's rating period from April 2022 to April 2023, he received an overall rating of exceeded expectation. At the heart of this NCO is an effective trainer that demonstrated the ability to work directly with new cadets efficiently and with great care to ensure they safely became capable to skill level 1 tasks. This NCO showed a dedication to the stewardship of the profession, an ability to train future leaders with great care for their safety and well-being, and constantly showed the true hallmarks of a senior NCO.
And you are a member of the Army Reserve, and what is your rank?
Staff Sergeant.
As a member of that unit, did you become acquainted with Robert Card?
Yes, sir. I believe it was my first drill. I believe it was his second drill that I met him.
And when did you meet Robert Card?
September of 2006. Obviously talked and slowly grew, because we were both going through a divorce around the same time. Loyal guy, hard worker. He would give you his own shirt off his back. He had no qualms if you needed money. You didn't even have to ask for it. If you knew you were having trouble, he would just give it to you.
He was a very normal, hardworking. He traded stocks. He liked to hunt. He loved to hang out with his son. They would ride jet skis, ride motorcycles. I liked to ride motorcycles. He was just a normal, and I would say even more on the quieter, more reserved.
You'd have to break him out of his shell. You would have to get to know him. Or you'd have a couple of beers and it kind of broke the ice a little bit. And then he would open up. But if he usually just kept to himself, he's pretty much an introvert.
He said he hunted and shot his whole life. He grew up on a farm. I'm originally from New Jersey. I didn't fire a gun until I joined the Army. But he was raised around it and he really enjoyed it.
June 1st, 2022 is when I first moved in with him. I moved out toward the beginning of September 2022 when I found my own place. He was offering to help me. So it was supposed to be temporary. It ended up becoming more permanent. If we were at drill, we'd be attached to the hip. So if I went to drill, normally he would be there.
I've tried, because we've been all over. We've been to Las Vegas together, Seattle, for the Army schools. When I first met Card, we were both on the regular hand grenade range. We were pit NCOs, they called us, where we're right there with the cadet with the live hand grenades to throw them to make sure that they're safe and nothing happens. I'm pretty outgoing. I like to joke around and laugh with the guys, but Card, he had to warm up to you to open up. It was just how he was. He was a very, conservative, that he didn't put himself out there, I guess is the best way to put it.
Did there come a time when you noticed a change in Robert Card's personality or actions?
Yes, slowly.
So up until, I would say, the very end of 2022, he was a normal guy. He was a quiet guy. But the beginning of 2023, he got hearing aids and he started hearing voices. He started picking up conversations across the room. He was fixated on people were talking about him behind his back.
I remember him calling me at work and I got confused because I couldn't understand him. He was yelling. He was really upset. He kind of calmed down a little bit and then explained to me that he heard people at work in the warehouse talking about him. I didn't know he was hearing voices.
But he was complaining.
I took his complaint as legitimate.
Okay.
At first, you know, Robert Card's never lied to me, ever. So I believed what he was saying was true.
On about people talking about him at the drill hall, and people were talking about him at work, around the town of Bowdoin at the convenience store. I would ask him who said it. Just give me a name and I'll say something. I didn't want him thinking people were talking about him, and I would say something to somebody if they were, but he could never give me a name. It was just, he heard it in the noise within the room.
He also went so far as to report it at work.
And was this at Maine Recycling?
Yes.
He quit his job because he thought they were talking about him so much that he, changed jobs, thinking that would, alleviate what he thought he was hearing.
But during the drill, or what's called battle assembly, did he say fellow soldiers were talking about him?
Yes, sir.
And you yourself never heard any of these disparaging comments?
No, sir. I've never heard anybody say anything bad about him.
It wasn't all the time he was upset about it. It just progressively got worse over time.
Did his getting the hearing aids seem to have any effect on that?
I believe it made it worse.
Like I said, we have our groups that we hang out with mostly. We associate with everybody, but our buddy groups. But we spoke about it, between ourselves. It was weird behavior. It was not normal, but it was just between us, just conversations between us. And it got so bad that he actually took a picture of himself and he showed it to people.
So he had taken a photograph of his genitalia and showed it to people to try to discount that?
Yes, sir.
And you thought that was extremely bizarre behavior?
Extremely inappropriate.
Totally out of character with a Robert Card you'd known in past years?
Yes, sir.
He had isolated everyone else and was continually doing so. He'd done that to Colby. Colby didn't live with his dad because his dad asked him to give up his room at their home because he had a friend that was in need of a place to stay.
Variety of documents I read, it's my understanding that you first started hearing rumors about his behavior.
Correct.
When was that?
I would say in the April-May timeframe, late April, early May. Well, I heard through innuendo, rumor, basically, scuttlebutt, that he was talking about that someone had called him a at his job, had made reference to him being gay, and had also made comment about certain bodily appendages, and that he had gotten in some trouble over there.
Was there any discussion within the unit about trying to get Robert Card some help?
I didn't hear about anything until July.
In early May 2023, Card's then 17-year-old son spoke to his mother, Kara Lamb, Card's former wife, concerning his father's increasingly erratic behavior, anger, and paranoia.
I took it incredibly seriously when Colby came to me with his concerns for his dad. He had not been living there. They had just been spending time together, hanging out when they had time. Colby worked as well as going to school. He was a senior in high school at that point. And he came to me and said, I do not feel comfortable. I don't want to go over to Dad's anymore. The next morning, he was willing to talk a little bit about why. He mentioned a situation where he'd gone to pick up his fishing gear with his buddy at his dad's house on the way to the pond, and that his dad had just met them in the driveway in an absolute rage about Colby being in on it and against him, and, walking away from his dad, essentially.
Did you ever become aware that his family had spoken to a member of the Saginaw Sheriff's Department in May?
I think that was after July. I did know of a time that he was with his son and they went to a convenience store, and he said something to the clerk at the convenience store, and it mortified his son. His son was so embarrassed that he would even say something. I believe that was like around, it must have been around that time, like April, May timeframe. He even told me that his son was like embarrassed by it and that like it was like an outburst but he didn't have the wherewithal to, like knock it off.
The best solution I could come up with was, why don't we go talk to our resource officer at the high school and ask them, what do we do? If I call the cops right now and say, I'm concerned about the welfare of my ex-husband, who I don't speak with ever, that means that they're going to essentially talk to Colby and then go to Rob and say, your son's really concerned about your welfare. We were well beyond that being any effective or reasonable tool.
Card's ex-wife and teenage son expressed concerns. The boy told a school counselor he didn't feel safe staying with his father. That prompted the counselor to contact the local sheriff's office. Deputy Chad Carlton responded.
The son had concerns about his father.
Colby was nervous and felt threatened to an extent by his own father. And that's not a normal behavior, I will tell you.
He told me that starting at around January timeframe of that year, his father had started to behave oddly in a paranoid type behavior and thought people were talking about him from great distances away. And he provided a few examples. The son told me that the father had 10 to 15 firearms that had been previously stored at the brother's house. Said his father had recently picked those guns up, moved them back to his house, had locked them up in his bedroom, but one might be in his truck.
What was it about his access to the firearms that the son was concerned about?
It wasn't specific to the firearms. It was more specific to the way his father was behaving and the fact that he had gone and gotten the combination of the two. The son told me the father had not done anything at that point with the firearms to make him feel threatened.
Did either the son or the ex-wife tell you that Robert Card had made any threats?
No.
General or specific?
No.
Did you believe that he presented a likelihood of serious harm?
Not at that time. Because we came up with a plan. The first part being that the ex-wife and the son were adamant that I not let Mr. Card know that they had brought this forward to law enforcement. They wanted to remain anonymous.
I thought that maybe the worst thing, the worst response with our concern would be to have the police show up at his house.
And I offered to go try and speak to Mr. Card to see if I could get him to the help they thought he needed. They did not like that option. They thought that option would exacerbate the situation. They did not think that Robert would respond well to someone in uniform.
Sagadahoc County Deputy Sheriff Chad Carlton took initiative, contacting the Army Reserve Center in Saco and locating Robert Card's battalion leadership. He also reached out to Robert's older brother, Ryan Card, to make him aware of the growing concerns.
Did you folks try to meet as a group to say, hey, what's going on with, Robbie?
Initially in May, that was the request that Ryan come grab me and we go over together where he was feeling paranoid.
The next day, Carlton received a call from Kara Lamb. She said that she had spoken to Card's brother, Ryan Card, and told him about their concerns. She informed Carlton that on the evening of May 3rd, Ryan and his sister, Nicole Hurling, had gone to Card's home to check on him. Card met them at the door with a gun in his hand. Although the meeting was cordial for the most part, Card accused his siblings of talking about him behind his back. He also told them that he thought people were stalking him or casing his home.
I was told that the visit went well. After the fact, he had answered the door with a gun and that he had exhibited some paranoid behavior early on in the visit, but that ultimately he had agreed to go to the doctor and seek help. Answering the door with a gun would make you take pause, but the way the conversation finished, where this thing was going in the direction everyone had hoped. And the Army was stepping in or had told me they were stepping in to offer what they could offer.
That same day, Carlton spoke with First Sergeant Kelvin Moat, the senior non-commissioned officer in Card's company at the Army Reserve Unit, who was also a police officer in Ellsworth, Maine.
So the family had concerns about Card and about some hearing voices, paranoid. And the family, they wanted to remain anonymous in reporting this and wanted me to do something about it. And I explained to them, they're going to have to get him to Toga or to a hospital because I have no authority whatsoever over him when it's not during drill or on orders.
Moat told Carlton that members of the unit were starting to see behavioral changes in Card, but that he did not know it was as serious as described by Colby.
Told me he was going to call Captain Reamer as soon as we get off the phone, and they were going to come up with a plan and develop a plan to bring Mr. Card in and see what they could do about getting him some help.
Did you learn in that conversation with Sergeant Carlton or Deputy Carlton that Robert Card had moved recently 10 to 15 handguns and rifles from his brother's house to his house and that his son was concerned?
No, ma'am.
Well, if I told you that Deputy Carlton had that in his report, would that refresh your recollection?
No, ma'am, it doesn't.
Moat was familiar with the Army Reserve Psychological Health Program, which provides mental health assistance to reservists, their families, and their commanders.
I explained to him that as a reservist, he could take him to Togas, and that based on all the stuff he had told me, that he probably would be able to get an evaluation or to get some help or be sent in the right direction.
Moat told Carlton that the Army Reserve Unit had a battle assembly coming up and that Army Reserve members would sit down with Card and see if they could get him to open up.
I'm looking for causation. At or around the same time this behavior started, Mr. Card had been fitted with some form of hearing aids. I believe cochlear implants. I took the time to do some research on the topic.
Did you speak with Captain Reamer?
Never.
On Thursday, May 4th, you received a voicemail message from Deputy Carlton. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And he told you at that time that Sergeant Card's brother and sister had visited him the night before and that Sergeant Card had agreed to see a doctor about the paranoia and voices he was hearing.
Yes, ma'am.
And you were provided Robert Card's brother's cell phone as a contact.
Yes, ma'am. He left that in the voicemail.
Did you call Sergeant Card's brother yourself?
I did not.
Did you pass Sergeant Card's brother's phone number on to Captain Reamer or anybody else?
No, ma'am.
Did you tell Captain Reamer about this additional information that you learned?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you provide Sergeant Card's brother's telephone number to Captain Reamer?
I don't know if it was then or if it was after the fact, after in July that number was supplied to me. I would have to look at what's on.
Did you have any conversations with Robert Card between May 4th and June 2nd?
I did not know.
Do you know whether Captain Reamer had any conversations with him during that period of time?
No, ma'am. I do not know that.
Do you know if anybody spoke with him?
No, ma'am.
You recommend any counseling to Card in May or June?
Since I was not there, I did not do the face-to-face, and I will say no, I did not call him.
So who did the face-to-face?
I did not get confirmation from First Sergeant Moat that a face-to-face conversation occurred.
Yeah, so I had a few interactions with him, just checking in with him. The ones that I can think of off the top of my head would be June 3rd after the bowling alley incident. July, my mom called me mid-July and said, hey, Robbie's not working today. My understanding is that he quit his job. And I was like, did he quit or did he get fired? Because at that point, I had already known that I had talked to his manager about some of the concerns. And he was like, oh, I didn't know that. And then I was like, oh, great. So now he's going to get fired on top of all this other stuff. And Robbie, from my understanding, actually did quit. So I found a reason to call Robbie in July just to say, hey, how are things going? And he's like, he didn't say anything about it. He was like, good, just going fishing. So like you're having a conversation with a normal person.
Did you know that Colby and his mother had gone to the school officer to see if they could get some help for Robert?
He was upset with that.
Robert was?
Yes, he was.
How did he find out about it?
They called him, I believe. I'm not sure if he got called or went down there, but I remember him complaining about it.
Okay.
He was pretty upset. Because his son wasn't talking to him at the time and he was trying to figure out why.
The Army, did they offer you any information about the psychological health program?
No,
Have you ever heard of that program that's available specifically for Army Reservists suffering behavioral health issues in their families?
no.
The brother and the sister had an intervention with Robert Card, where they were going to have him see a doctor or talk to someone about hearing the voices and that sort. And that's the last voicemail message I remember getting from them.
But that was the family's plan,
Right.
correct? What was the Army Reserve's plan to sit down with Robert Card that you had told Deputy Carlton was going to be explored?
That I do not know.
My understanding was that the Sheriff's County was responded, where he wasn't arrested. There was no hospitalization, but later would receive text messages and our contact from First Sergeant Mode stating that there was an intervention with the family. They were seeking him help.
Did you ever sit down with Robert Card to talk to him about this?
I did not. I was due to personal as well as injury. I did not attend the April Battle Assembly, May Battle Assembly, or June Battle Assembly reason. So I was not in person. And as we discussed earlier, I'm from New Hampshire, so I did not have a face-to-face. But I did not. Neither did I make a phone call either.
So he went considerable amount of time hearing nothing, and Sergeant Schofield, as who you'll hear from obviously in a minute, was extremely thorough and had basically picked up where I had left off with the sheriff's office's involvement and did what I thought was a very thorough job.
I haven't heard I didn't hear anything until 2 weeks after the shooting from the Army.
Okay.
Between May and July 15, 2023, when Card reported to active duty at West Point, his sister attempted to reach someone at the Army Reserves unit in Saco to talk about the family's increasing concerns about Card and his deteriorating mental health. She left 5 voicemail messages on various phones asking for a call back. No one called her back. She also spent hours conducting internet and telephone research trying to find help for Card. She called 988 and other numbers and researched behavioral health programs for members of the Army Reserves. There is no evidence that she found the psychological health program website. According to the Lewiston, Maine Investigative Committee, after these interactions in May, there is no evidence that members of the Army Reserve sat down with or even attempted a meeting with Card during the May or June battle assembly he attended. There is also no evidence that any member of the Army Reserve reached out to their psychological health program for assistance on how to address Card's deteriorating mental health.
Now, in July, there was going to be a 2-week training session at West Point, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
And among those 15 to 20 was Sergeant Card.
Yes.
Was he going to have access to those weapons?
Yes, ma'am, a little bit on the line.
Given the information that you had received from Deputy Carlton, did you consider not having Robert Card attend this training?
No, ma'am.
Did you discuss that possibility with anybody?
No, ma'am.
So on July 15th, the following day, did Robert arrive?
Yes, sir. I believe it was like 5 or 6 in the afternoon. We were in the pool. We got done and it was myself, Humble, Wainwright, Noyes, and Bert. And then Card pulled up and we're like, hey, how you doing? You know, once you check in, you know, get your bathing suit on, come down in the pool with us. And he's like, yeah, he was fine. Put his bags away. I'd say a good like 15, 20 minutes went by. He hops in the pool with us. And the first thing that came out of his mouth was the lady at the front desk was talking about me. And we all kind of like looked at him a little, you know, bewildered, but I'm like, well, what did she say? And he didn't like say specifically what she said, but like a roundabout way, like, you know, oh, she knows I'm here. And, you know, she's talking about me. She recognizes me from last year because he stayed there last year. It was kind of weird, but we kind of just brushed it off. And then we're just normal conversation, just joking around. And then he blurted out that on his way down in Connecticut, he stopped out at Dunkin' Donuts, and the lady behind the counter said something about him, like something derogatory along, what those same three things that he always fixated on. And I said to him, I had to say something now. I was like, Card, that lady doesn't know you. That lady sees thousands of people come off the highway every day. She doesn't know you from Jack, But the night progressed, and we were going to order Domino's pizza.
I know the night of the 15th at 9 o'clock, I was contacted by Master Sergeant Urich. He said that there had been a confrontation between Card and Reed.
We were going to go to the gas station too, right after that, it's right outside the front gate. And it was me, Wainwright, and Card said, I'll come with you. I got to run to the gas station too. So we took Wainwright's truck. Nobody was saying a word. We weren't talking. We were just driving. And he said, I can't believe you too, Reed. Or he said something along those lines. And nobody was talking. Like, no words were said. And I turned around and I go, what? Like, I didn't say anything. And I even said something to Wainwright. I'm like, Wainwright, did I say anything? And he's like, no. And Wainwright was so confused. He thought it was like a conversation that we had before AT, because nothing was said in the truck. But he thought that I said something derogatory about him in the truck. And he turned like 180 degrees, like his teeth were gritting. And when I turned around, I could see he was pretty amped up. And I thought I was going to get punched in the back of the head. Like, that's how mad he was. And I kept telling him, I was like, I didn't say anything. Like, dude, what did I say? And he couldn't tell me. He wouldn't tell me. And he's like, it's all right. It's all right. I'll take care of it. So we went to the gas station, and the second Wainwright parked, he flung the door open. He storms into the gas station. I'm looking at Wainwright like what is going on right now? And he flings open the cooler door and grabs a case of beer and stomps up to the cashier. I can't even talk to him because he's just he keeps walking away from me. So when I walked out of the gas station, he put that case of beer on the ground and he was leaning up against the truck, the bed of the truck. And I came out, I said, hey man, what's going on? And I went to grab the front door to put it in, and he came at me he wanted to fight. And since I was towards the front of the truck, I kind of turned around the front of it just to try to put some distance between us. But his fists were balled up. He wanted to go down. He wanted to fight, and I didn't want to hit him because nothing even happened. And I did yell what's wrong with you? I cussed at him a few times, just because I was just why are you trying to fight me right now? And Wainwright came out by this time, and he saw this whole situation going down, and Card's fists are balled up, and he's fired up, and he's not saying anything, but he was amped up. He was ready to go. It just cooled down. I smoked a cigarette, and we just he got into the truck when Wainwright hit the unlock button, and then I hopped in, and I turned around, and I was like, dude, what's going on? What? I didn't say anything. Why are you trying to fight me right now? And his teeth are grinding, he's ready to go. And I literally thought I was going to get punched in the side of the face, because I was sitting in front of him, and we're in a little a small area there. But it was weird. It was definitely weird. So we drove up to the gate, checked in, and then drove to the lodging. And Wainwright parked, and Card grabbed his beers and slammed the door and just stormed off. And Wainwright and I were just looking at each other what just happened? And it was odd. But Card went right back to his room. He didn't come out for the rest of the night. He didn't want to be around us for the rest of the night. We were all in the day room. Between what he said in the pool about the front desk lady, and then the lady in Connecticut, and then what just happened in the parking lot, and we were just talking amongst ourselves, Noyes, Wainwright, Burt, and Humble, that he can't go out on the ranges. What if he thinks a cadet said something about him, you know what I mean? And we have high explosive grenade rounds, and maybe we should get, the chain of command involved. And then that's when Wainwright went to go get Master Sergeant Urich to let him know what happened. Master Sergeant Urich was probably the highest ranking NCO at the lodging that night.
It had actually been a confrontation at this point, so it had escalated. Well, from the previous calls that we had gotten from Saginaw County Sheriff's Department, saying basically the same things. Now we're on camp at West Point, getting ready to do a mission with crew serve weapons. And so that concerned me greatly. I drove straight to Camp Smith. No, I got there because I wanted more information from what they were telling me. I wanted to know what had happened, what was said, what was done. So after about 45 minutes or so, speaking with Sergeant Wainwright, Sergeant Noyes, and Sergeant Reed, and Master Sergeant Urick, it was that point it was time to talk to Bart. We needed to know what was going on.
What did you do?
We were knocked on the door a couple of times. You know, I don't want to use the verbatim language, but basically he told us to go away and leave him alone. And to which we replied, we can't do that. So we knocked some more. He comes to the door. We asked him what was going on. And he said, people just need to mind their own business and stop calling me names and talking about me behind my back. It's making him angry, to be polite. Then he closed the door. And so we knocked some more. And he opened the door up just a little bit, told us again to leave him alone, go away. At that point, Master Sergeant Urick actually put his foot in the door so he couldn't slam it. But he ended up slamming it anyway. Well, this time he was still saying that people were talking about him. He was hearing people calling him names. And I know those soldiers. They were not calling him these names. There is
Well, did they deny calling him those names?
absolutely. They wouldn't. So couple that with the fact that he wouldn't open that door very far and let us into that room. That my concern was maybe he had a weapon in him. I made the decision that we were going to go get a key to that room and do a health and welfare inspection. And then we came back up with that key, and Master Sergeant Urick and I banged on the door, told him we were coming in, and then we opened the door.
And were you concerned at this time that he had weapons in his room?
Yes, ma'am. He likes his weapons. I mean, it's Maine. He's a hunter. I knew that, that much about him. He loves to hunt, and erring on the side of caution. I mean, he's my responsibility, yes, but so are the people at Camp Smith. I mean,
As well as the cadets at West Point.
absolutely.
So your concern must have been that he had personal weapons, correct?
Yes, ma'am, correct.
Because he wouldn't have had access to any military
No, ma'am.
weapons at this point. Are reserves allowed to take any Army weaponry off base?
No, ma'am, not at all.
When you went into the room, what happened?
We went into the room, turned the light on. Master Sergeant Urick was on one side of the bed. I was on the other, just so we had eyes on both sides of that bed. He was completely covered up from head to toe, so that was concerning. Well, I mean, up to his neck.
With blankets?
Blankets, yes, ma'am. So that was concerning. So we wanted to be close in on both sides in case a weapon was drawn, that we could do whatever we had to, jump on him, whatever. And at that point, Master Sergeant Urick started talking to him and just explaining to him, we were checking on him to make sure he was okay, asking him to pull the covers down, which he did. There was nothing, no weapons. We checked the rest of the room, no weapons. And at that point, the concern kind of dropped down because there was no weapons in his vicinity in the room that we could see.
Now, again, referring to your interview with Detectives Leonard and James, you said, I've been a cop for 24 years and hairs were going up on the back of my neck.
They were.
And what was causing the hairs to go up on the back of your neck?
That stare.
So what happened after you determined that there were no weapons in the room?
We tried to talk to Card. He wouldn't talk to us. He kept dismissing us, telling us leave him alone. He just wants to go to sleep. Again, to err on the side of caution, we took the keys to his car. We checked the room again to make sure there were no weapons in the room. And by that point, he had already rolled back over, pulled his covers up, and we decided to let him sleep it off. This would have been around midnight by the time all was said and done. And we made a plan to meet back at 07 the next morning.
The next morning, there was state police and MPs and first sergeant, and the commander was on his way down. Like something happened that morning that like triggered all this to like get the state police involved.
We went back again, refusing to answer the door. Didn't want to let us in. Still going on about this, people minding their own business, calling him names. Reached out to the military police out in West Point, and it was advised that since Camp Smith was actually under the purview of the state, it's a National Guard base. So since that's under the purview of the state, we'd have to call the state police. I want to have a check flow being done on him by them because we're in their state, on their base, to maybe get Card to the hospital and get him checked.
Was your reason for contacting the New York State Police to have a well-being check prefatory to implementing their red flag law?
Correct.
Have you looked at the body camera video of the New York State Police?
Yes, sir.
Concern that is that he's going to hurt himself or someone else. Okay. He needs to be evaluated. He needs to talk to a medical professional.
He's like hearing voices, like it's like paranoia to like the nth degree. Like it's weird. It's really weird.
The more concerning part is he was never like this.
Never. And he's a gun nut too. He has a lot of guns. He just spent 14 grand on a scope too. So he's like, he's got, I don't know what he's capable of. I'm not insinuating anything, but I'm just saying he does have a ton of guns.
And I remember like we spoke in that circle for, so long because the state police, their hands were kind of tied because he didn't make like a direct threat to hurt me or anybody else or himself. It took a while to figure out like exactly what we were going to do next. But luckily, the state police they've been in these situations before and they could give us opinions and what we could do or what we should do. After the state police said that they couldn't like take him in custody because he didn't make any direct threats. He didn't assault me because I walked away. That's when the decision was to make the command directed, mental health evaluation.
Okay.
Robert, this is Trooper Katz with the State Police. Can you open the door for me, please? Thank you, my man. You want to throw a shirt on? I'll come and talk to you. So wherever you want to sit. When you want to. So what's going on that your staff is calling, concerned about?
What's up?
What's going on that your staff is concerned about you calling us?
Because I flipped out on someone messing around with me and they're cowards and ran away and
Okay.
I didn't do anything wrong. I hadn't been physical with anyone.
Yeah, no one's alleging that.
Yeah, no.
So
There, yeah.
what was it that caused the issue last night?
They keep saying shit behind my back. I confront them and they pretend like I'm hearing stuff. It's happening everywhere. So
all right.
Hearing bits and pieces of all of it and it's just getting old and I confront people and it doesn't stop. So.
Okay. All right. So we talked to a few of them today, and they're saying like nothing like that is happening. They're talking about how good of a friend they are to you. You guys have been great friends for a decade now, and they're not sure what's going on. They're not saying these things behind your back. They're not calling you names or anything like that.
Yeah.
And they're concerned because they don't understand why you think that they are.
I don't know.
I mean, you say that they're talking about you behind your back, but you actually hear them saying these things,
Yeah,
or
I'm hearing them, yeah.
Okay. Well, so why would they tell us that they weren't saying those things?
I don't know.
I mean, does it make sense that someone that you've been good friends with for over a decade would all of a sudden just start saying these things about you?
It's happening everywhere, so yeah.
What do you mean by that?
A lot of sense.
What do you mean by that? It's happening everywhere.
At work, I had to quit my job, go to a different place to try to leave it, and then it's there as well. So.
What were they saying at work?
Huh?
What kind of stuff were they?
Gay. I'm a pedophile. Boys, I like good girls.
And what kind of stuff were your friends talking about you?
Same exact stuff. It's the same thing over and over.
Do the people at where you work know the people that you serve with?
They live in Lewiston. They're all somewhat close. Yeah, areas.
But do they know each other?
Do they know each other?
I don't know.
So when you say you hear bits and pieces, how do you hear the bits and pieces?
Just throwing in conversations or when I turn my back.
Oh, so you're...
Then I go and confront them and yeah.
Okay.
I know it's happening because one guy at work actually had the nuts to say, yeah, this isn't what an innocent person would do. You wouldn't be walking away pretending you don't hear them. So I know it's happening because everyone's fucking with me. It's getting old.
Okay.
Robert, are you on any prescription medication right now?
No, no,
Nothing at all.
no.
Okay. All right. They mentioned that you have some hearing aids, right?
Yeah.
That you. How long have you had those?
4 months, 3 months now.
Okay. All right. How long have these issues been going on at home, work, here?
Been about 6 months now.
Okay.
And
All
when
right.
did you say you got the hearing aids?
3 months ago, because I was hearing shit and everyone was looking at me and talking, and I watch people. That's what I do. And no one looks at me. No one talks. Like, I'm pretty invisible until all of a sudden now everyone fucking knows who I am.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. All these rumors, freaking, I don't know, I've heard it's online someplace. I can't find the shit. No one will tell me about it, but
What do you mean when you say it's online?
all of these rumors about me being gay, pedophile.
But you haven't been able to find it online anywhere.
I haven't, no.
Okay.
Did someone tell you that it was online?
I've overheard it, yeah. Just little bits and pieces I'm just catching
Okay.
over and over. So,
Okay. So, the staff here is concerned about you. To the point that they have command directed you to talk with a counselor. Okay?
alright.
So, they are in the position now to take you to a counselor today to talk with someone.
Alright.
Okay? Do you know where that would take place?
I have no idea.
So that would take place over at Keller at West Point, on the other side of the river. Are you familiar with that place?
No.
Okay. So it's a drive up the Taconic to 84 across the river and then back down just because of storms shut down a couple roads for us. Okay. Are you willing to do that? Would you be willing
I
to
have
talk with
to if
someone?
it's command directive, obviously.
Okay.
But
Well, I mean,
is it gonna help
when I say-
anything? No.
I don't know.
I would rather have people stop talking, stop looking at me. I'm a fucking private person that don't like fucking my shit out there.
I can understand that.
Yep. I can too.
I can absolutely understand that.
So these guys here have been your friends for a long time, right?
No, apparently not. So.
But no, think
But this is a new development you're saying in the
Think
last
about it.
6 months or 3
Yeah.
months you're saying,
yeah,
man, you know?
right? Up until what, 6 months ago or so.
I don't have any real good friends, obviously.
But I don't believe that to
but-
be true. I think something's going on.
Something's happening, right? Because up until 6 months ago, right, you trust these guys with your life, right?
And
Every weekend, I
we're
guess.
both service members.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know how it
And
is.
there's nobody tighter than your
Yep.
brothers.
So these guys, I mean, I hope you understand that they're concerned enough about your welfare that they called us.
Well, because they're scared, because I'm gonna friggin' do something, because I am capable.
Like, what do you mean by that?
Huh?
What do you mean by that?
Nothing. No.
Okay.
Was that concerning to you when you looked at that body cam video?
Yes. Like my eyes opened when I saw that.
All right. Well, like he said, you're gonna have to go to Keller Army Hospital. Okay. Speak with a counselor. All right. We just don't want there to be any issues on the way there, or while you're there. I mean, obviously, while you're there, you know, they have plenty of people there that are willing to help you out. All right. We don't want any incidents on the way there. All right.
Do you think that you can do that?
Yes.
Okay. Because so they're going to take you ride with them, and we're going to follow. The other option is that you ride with us.
But that involves handcuffs.
Yeah. You can go. I
you're
don't want
not
to treat you
going.
like that.
Yeah, we don't want to do that. All right. So if you Give me your word that you'll go with them.
20 years, I shouldn't even be here. I fucking tried to get out of this fucking AG. No, you have to fucking come. Oh. Can you guys give me a chance to get dressed?
You got socks and shoes? Just go with what you're wearing.
That's what it's
If you
gonna have to
wanna-
be.
You wanna grab a bag, we can put some stuff in a bag if you want.
It was clear that Card was experiencing a form of paranoia and was frustrated. This had been going on since the beginning of 2023, when he noticed a loss of his hearing. By the spring, he had hearing aids. Before 2023, Card's only recorded interactions with law enforcement was a 2007 arrest for DUI, to which he pleaded guilty.
You'll be alright?
Yeah.
You gonna make it to your retirement?
I'm already there technically.
Well, I mean, you're not yet because you're here.
Yeah.
You gonna make it to retirement?
I'm hoping.
Okay. Alright, don't do anything to jeopardize that, man, alright?
Yeah. You learned a lot of times that's just.
He was transported to West Point's Keller Army Community Hospital for psychological evaluation.
So we got the car with the 3 rows of seats. First Sergeant was driving, First Sergeant Moat. I decided to go because I was the closest with Card. Staff Sergeant Noyes, he's a police officer in the Sheriff's Department, and he decided to come with me. So it was going to be First Sergeant driving, Noyes and I in the middle row, and then put Card all the way in the back because he doesn't have access to a door handle. And then we decided there was 2 of us. So if he did try to fight, there's 2 against 1. And then, we decided to take him to Keller Hospital. They knew we were coming. Somebody called Keller to let them know.
Now, was Captain Reamer present at West Point at this time?
No, ma'am.
Right, and in his absence, were you considered to be the highest ranking NCO officer? This, in your discussion with Captain Reamer, he agreed to order the command directed mental health evaluation?
Yes, ma'am, he did. Realizing the seriousness of the situation, he jumped right into uniform and jumped into his car and drove straight from his home, straight to New York, because he had to be there to sign it. I knew that I had to do something, and once they tell me they're not going to do anything, I needed to start making plans. So I dismissed myself from them and went back to Sergeant Urick, and we made a plan.
Since the bridges were washed out, the normal 15-minute ride took over an hour since we had to go all the way to Newburgh and back down. So we were in the car with him for a while, and he was just staring out the window, and I kept turning around just to talk to him, because I've known him for so long. He wouldn't talk to me. And then about halfway through the ride, I say 30 minutes into the ride, he starts crying, just quietly, not like sobbing, like, but his eyes watered up, and he was crying. And it started getting me. I was getting a little upset because I didn't want him to be sad. And I said, "Hey, what's wrong, man? Like talk to me." And I'm like, "What's bothering you?" And he wouldn't say a word. He just was like just stoked the whole ride up until Keller.
One thing by itself, not so much, but if you put together the paranoia, saying that some random person in Connecticut or New York at a gas station is saying the exact same thing that a person at your job in Maine was saying, and then a clerk that you've never met before is saying the same things those are saying, that starts to make you question it. And then with respect to the escalation and escalating with a friend, I mean, I don't know for sure, but I think they've been friends for 15 years.
Sergeant Reed?
Yes, ma'am. So now you've got an escalation with somebody who's been friends for a long time. And there's verification there that it really wasn't alcohol, because we counted the bottles and there was still 10 bottles in that 12-pack left. So there had only been 2 taken out of there, and that was not enough to cause, severe intoxication. And then that comment, I am capable. I am capable.
And then we get to Keller. The state police followed us. They had a bed ready for him and everything. West Point has a policy to, like, anything mental health. You have to have a 24-hour watch on them. And but they brought him right in and got him. It was just a bed and a chair. That was all that was in the room. And they put him back there. And then we kind of congregated in the waiting area, and we're just trying to figure out like what to do.
And you forgive me. I'm trying not to get emotional at this point.
Absolutely.
I told him that he was there because we were concerned about him. He needed help. And I came right out and said, you have to have some rational part of your mind that knows that these voices are not real, because the voices you're saying are coming from these random people all up and down the East Coast who don't know each other. I said, you have to know that this isn't real. You never said a word. You stared right straight from me. You never even.
You didn't just say this is all because of the hearing aids. There was something else going on, or could you tell?
Up until West Point, like even in June, like we went out to lunch together during battle assembly, and he would say like weird things, like, you know, people were talking about him, or he'd tell me a story about work, but you know, we would get off that and just have a normal conversation. And I thought it was weird. I thought he was maybe picking up conversations, but July is when I was like, it was eye-opening when I saw how paranoid he was, and just the way he looked with his eyes, you know, bulging out, and how gaunt he was, how much weight he lost. That's when I like realized like there's something wrong. Like he needs some more help than just a talk from his buddies, you know.
After Captain Reamer arrived, I believe the captain was a psychologist who came in.
And his purpose was he was going to be performing the mental health evaluation?
He was, yes. He spoke directly with Captain Reamer. I was there with him.
What I can remember was the conversation with the on-call psychologist. He expressed concern about the personally owned firearms that Sergeant Card had at that time, yes. I acknowledged that at the time I wasn't aware. I had heard that Sergeant Card had, like probably many residents of Maine, that he did own firearms at home.
West Point policy is that you have to have 24-hour watch on any mental health crisis. So we decided that I would go in first. We would each do an hour. So I went in the room with him, and Wainwright and Noyes went down to Subway to go get sandwiches because it was around lunchtime, and we were going to get a sandwich for him too because we know he didn't eat. And I sat down in the room with him, and it has these big glass sliding doors, like floor to ceiling, but you can like close them totally so it seals off the room. But there's a nurse's station like right in front of those doors. There's probably like 3 or 4 nurses or emergency room workers. And I sat down in the chair, and we started having like a normal conversation. Like I forget what we were even talking about. Something like the weather or something. And it was like nothing even happened. And then as we're talking, and I was like, what's the matter? What's going on, man? Like I wanted to like do a little more digging to see what was bothering him. He stops me and he says, there they go again. They're talking about me. And I go, who? And he said, the nurses at the nurses station. And I like looked over at him. The doors were closed. Like it's almost like you can't hear. It's like soundproof almost at that point. And I looked at him. I was like, Card, they don't know you. Like this is the first time they've ever seen you in their lives. You know, like you've never been here before. And it was just weird. And but we talked though. The rest of that hour, we did talk. Wainwright came in. He gave us his sandwiches. I gave Card his sandwich, and we were just eating and talking. And then my hour was up, and that was the last time I ever talked to Robert Card. Was when I walked out of that room. And Wainwright replaced me for the hour. When Wainwright went in, Wainwright told me that Card was still talking about me, like he wanted to beat me up or knock my teeth out, or said something along those lines when Wainwright was in there. And I thought that was so weird because, you know, we just had a normal conversation when I was in there with him for that hour.
And how long did you sit with Sergeant Card in the hospital?
Well, we took turns. I mean, we were there for hours. I mean, we stayed there until he was actually in the ambulance being transported to Four Winds. I'd say 3.5 hours.
The colonel went in to talk with him, that psychiatrist, and he's the one that said that, yes, he's having a mental crisis, and they set up the transportation after that.
Sorry, I missed who the colonel was. Was this the medical professional who was at Keller?
Yes, he was a licensed clinical psychiatrist. It happened pretty quick, I'd say. Like they had a bed for him at Four Winds, And then an ambulance came and they set up transportation. And then we headed back to Camp Smith.
So the next day, I called Four Winds to do a follow-up to see, if I could find out how things were going. And I was told, no, they wouldn't tell me anything. And so then I said, well, can I get some information to pass on to my command, who's his doctor or whatever? So they gave me I forget the terms. One of them was his doctor's name and the other was a treatment specialist. And then their phone numbers and their extensions, plus the address to Four Winds. So I asked again if I could visit, and they said no. And then I said, well, is there anything he needs?
What did you do with the names and telephone numbers that you received?
I sent those to Captain Reamer, Sergeant Major Tolmack.
Captain Matthew Dickinson examined Card and completed a report of mental status evaluation. The evaluation report stated that Dickinson diagnosed Card with unspecified psychosis not due to a substance or physiological condition. When explaining this to Reamer as Card's company commander, Dickinson also gave Reamer a series of recommendations. 1. Ensure that Card attends all follow-up appointments. 2. Increase leader support with intent of keeping Card engaged with unit members and other sources of support. 3. Encourage Card to temporarily secure personal weapons with MPs, arms rooms, or other trusted sources. And 4. Restrict access to or disarm all military weapons and ammunition. He further informed Reamer that Card was not fit for duty and should have no weapon range duties. According to Dickinson, Reamer appeared to understand the recommendations, expressed no concerns about his ability to carry them out, and left Dickinson with the impression that he would follow them.
As a Army Reservist, I only, after being released and in between battle assemblies, it is very, very difficult because everyone is essentially back to civilians, that I can't order someone to go to Sergeant Card's house and stay with him. It is difficult. It is difficult to do in the Army Reserve capacity.
How were you made aware that he went to, how anyone of you were made aware that he went to the hospital in New York in around July? And did the hospital try to get hold of you, by any of you?
So for me, no, I did not have any personal contact with the hospital.
Did you talk to Sergeant Card's nurse case reviewer, Shane Pupo?
I cannot recall a conversation with him.
On July 27, 2023, at 5 p.m., approximately 10 days later, psychiatric nurse practitioner Captain Matthew Dickinson called Reamer to review the findings on Card's mental status evaluation and the need for discharge planning for Card. In the notes he made after speaking with Reamer, Dickinson wrote, "It was also discussed with Commander about making sure that steps are taken to remove weapons from service members' home to ensure safety." Dickinson noted, "Commander did not have any questions or concerns after our conversation."
Do you recall anything about that discussion?
I cannot recall that discussion, sir.
Directives and orders, correct?
My email was down at the time, so I did not actually see this counseling form until later. So I was not able to follow up with him.
When did you get access to it?
That I can recall observing this, it wasn't until later in October.
After the shooting?
Yes, sir.
Reamer neglected to follow any of the recommendations Dickinson gave him. In fact, he ignored them, nor did he complete the developmental counseling form that directed Card to make and maintain regular contact with his case management team. Reamer failed to follow up with treatment providers. He failed to read email messages concerning Card. He failed to heed the advice of the medical providers to ensure the removal of all firearms from Card's home. He failed to contact the Sagadahoc Sheriff's Office or have other members of his unit who were law enforcement officers in Maine contact the Sheriff's Office to arrange for the removal of the weapons. Finally, Reamer failed to follow up with Card to ensure that he was participating in treatment. The investigative committee also found that Reamer's superior had neglected to provide Reamer with any meaningful advice, guidance, or direction about Robert Card.
were you, when he left, were you made aware by anybody, including mom, of the discharge plan in terms of what he needed to do and also, the video folks that he was supposed to see? Were you aware of any of that?
So we were really surprised that he had been released. Our thought was that it was going to be 30 days in the treatment center.
Mhm.
And he was released the next day after that call with my mom.
Who told you it was 30 days?
I believe it was the treatment plan that he was going to be in there for 30 days. And then
Yeah, how was that
My
communicated
mom.
to you? Oh, your mom, okay,
Mhm.
all right.
A nurse case manager from the Army Reserve's psychological health program emailed Robert Card in late July to introduce herself and offer Card help in securing services when he got out of Four Winds Hospital. The only information provided to this nurse case manager about Card was the report that had been created as a result of Card's command-directed behavioral health evaluation. She was never provided or had access to any of Card's medical records from either Keller Community Hospital or Four Winds. Card underwent extensive medical and psychiatric testing while at Four Winds. While he initially resisted group therapy or treatment, he was always compliant with his medication, and over the course of his treatment, hospital staff saw improvements in his condition. Dr. Klagsbrun, Card's treating psychiatrist, and other staff members participated in weekly calls with Dr. Sanchez and others at the Army's Keller Community Hospital and specifically discussed Card's care and situation. While Klagsbrun said the name Reamer was familiar, she could not state with certainty that Reamer was on any of these calls. On July 28, 2023, Four Winds Hospital filed a petition with a New York court seeking an order of continued admission for involuntary treatment. This was because Card had filed a petition for release a few days earlier. The hospital's petition was dismissed on August 1, 2023, after Card withdrew his petition for release. No court hearing ever occurred. Card had spent 16 days in psychiatric care. Klagsburn stated that given Card's progress in treatment, his agreement to continue his medications and participate in therapy, and his stabilization at that point in time, it was her opinion that as of the date of his discharge, Card was safe to be released.
Eventually, did you find out that he'd been discharged from Four Winds Hospital?
Yes. And Hodgson called me and he said, "Oh, I'm on my way to New York to go get Card." And I was like, go get Card? What are you talking about? Because that day that he got checked in, I don't know if it was like a rumor or whatever. I heard that he was supposed to be in there for 30 days. And then there was supposed to be, he had to talk to like a judge or something. I was so taken back that it was just 2 weeks later. And Hodgson told me too that like he was, the first week he was in there, he wasn't cooperating and he didn't want to take the medicine and this and that. And the second week he kind of like I forget how he put it, but like he started taking the meds and he was playing the game basically to get out of there. And when Hodgson got him, he just walked right out the front door. Like there was no like discharge or anything. He said that he just pulled up and Card walked right out with his bag and that was it.
Captain Reamer did call me and said that he'd gotten a call from Hodgson saying he was headed down to pick him up. But the hospital never told anybody.
For him to get out of Four Winds, like he had to follow a few rules. They said that his family took all of his guns out of his trailer, like his dad and his brother, or his dad and his son. He had to take the medication that they prescribed him there. And the third was Hodgson was gonna move in with him just to, be there for him. And out of those three things, I don't think any of them actually happened.
Robert Card returned home from the hospital on August 3rd of 2023. Shortly after, the Army labeled him non-deployable and prohibited him from accessing firearms or ammunition. Over the following weeks, his behavior became increasingly erratic and volatile. He began experiencing delusions, once breaking down in tears on his mother's front porch, convinced that people were talking about him. Card quit his job as a recycling truck driver, further isolating himself.
Did you learn from Captain Reamer or any other source anything about Mr. Card's treatment while at Four Winds?
No, ma'am.
Did Captain Reamer discuss with you a conversation he had with Captain at Keller on July 27th?
No, ma'am.
Did
No,
he?
not that I recall.
So you don't recall his telling you that the recommendation was to make sure that steps were taken to remove weapons from Card's home to ensure safety?
No, ma'am, I don't remember that right.
Did he ever show you a copy of Card's DA 3822, the report of mental status evaluation?
No, ma'am.
Did he ever discuss it with you?
No, ma'am.
Did he ever tell you that it had been recommended that Card's chain of command stay engaged with his care and that once discharged to his HOR's home,
Yeah.
Maine, that he be followed up with case management and brigade medical officer?
No, ma'am.
Between August 3rd, his release from Four Winds, and September 15th, did you see Sergeant Card again?
No.
Did you talk to him?
No, ma'am. He wouldn't answer my phone. He wouldn't answer.
So how many times did you call him when he wouldn't answer the phone?
3. Yes.
And what was your purpose in calling?
Wanted to check on him.
Did anybody direct you to do this, or did you do this in your capacity as a supervisor?
I did this in my capacity as a supervisor and also as a fellow soldier.
So between August 3rd and September 15th, were you involved or informed about Sergeant Card's post-discharge care?
No, ma'am.
Then, in mid-September, concerns escalated.
Mr. Hudson, when we took a break, I was just about to speak with you about an event that occurred in September of 2023. Could you tell me how that day started?
We got off work. We made plans to go out that night. We ended up at the casino. It was after midnight. He was on the back roads and he started flipping out, punching the steering wheel. He was saying that they ruined his life, just flipping out. Some of the stuff I couldn't make out. It was so loud. And I kept repeating myself. I was like, no one's worth your life. Nobody's worth you listening to and have it affect your life. Nobody's worth your freedom over this. At some point, he was driving erratically. I seen tree after tree. I don't know if we went sideways or not, but I begged him to pull over and let me drive. I thought we were going to crash. At some point, he did punch me in the face, told me to shut the F up, shut the F up. Do not say another word. So we got on Lisbon Street and I was like, you know what? Just I need a pack of smokes. Drop me off at the gas station. I'll walk home from there. Because I knew they had cameras. But when I got out of the vehicle, I reiterated. I was like, hey, just so you know, I love you. I'll always be there for you. I'll never give up on you. Shut the door and he had that blank stare on his face. He wouldn't even look at me when I was talking to him. He was just dead stare front. And he slowly drove away. Yeah, I believe I called Captain Reamer. I was quite upset. He did answer. So I texted and I wanted to make sure that I was absolutely clear on my concerns because his behavior was that bad.
Do you recall to whom you sent the text?
Yes, First Sergeant Mote and Captain Reamer.
Okay, and in that text, you said, change the passcode to the unit gate and be armed if SFC Card does arrive, period, please, period. I believe he's messed up in the head, period, and threaten the unit, other and other places. Did you hear him make any threats to the unit?
Yes, he wanted to punch Reed in the face, Bull. He wanted to confront Wainwright. It was a list of people he was pretty upset with. I was afraid he was going to go there, and knowing how capable he is, it might escalate from there because I literally just witnessed him getting worse and worse and worse. And it was quickly escalating.
And in that same text, you went on to say, no one searched his vehicle on federal property. And yes, he still has all of his weapons. I'm not there. I'm at my own place. I believe he's going to snap and do a mass shooting. When you sent that text out, who was the first person who responded?
I honestly don't remember. I talked to them both.
As soon as I saw it, I contacted Captain Reamer. And we discussed it, and I said, we need to get Saginaw County to go down and do a well-being check to gauge his mental status.
So he told you in this text, so you knew the card had the firearms. If he'd given them up at some point in time, he had them back.
After you spoke with Captain Ream, you spoke with Deputy Chief Troy Byers or Beers of the Ellsworth Police Department.
Yes.
And who is he?
He's my immediate supervisor.
He's your
He's my immediate supervisor. He's the deputy chief of the Ellsworth Police. Basically, I explained to him what was going on. And he suggested, I was on duty, but since it had to do with the military, he suggested I go through Detective Corey Bagley and have the request, get him this written statement. And then he would contact Saginaw County and request the check well-being.
Moat sent a detailed email to local law enforcement. It outlined Card's erratic behavior and hospital stays, but failed to mention his access to firearms. He did request a welfare check. That request landed on the desk of Sergeant Aaron Schofield with the sheriff's office. On his first visit, Card wasn't home, so Schofield issued an alert for officer safety advising Card was armed and dangerous.
I spoke with Detective Bagley, who's with the Ellsworth Police Department. He gave me a synopsis of what's going on with Robert Card. Detective Bagley gave me the rundown on his mental health issues that were slowly unfolding. That he had an instance back in over the summer at National Guard training where he was committed for 2 weeks. Card had said something about shooting up the reserve unit and some other places. He passed this information along to me, along with an email that was authored by Sergeant Moat of the Reserves.
You wrote a narrative about your text message and your conversation with Sergeant Hodgson, and that's document 3 that you have in front of you.
Yes.
According to Hodgson, Card said he has guns and is going to shoot up the drill center at Saco and other places. He also said he was going to get them. Since the commander and I are the ones who had him committed, we are the them. He also said I was the reason he can't buy guns anymore because of the commitment. Hodgson is concerned that Card is going to snap and commit a mass shooting. Did you think that there was probable cause to take Sergeant Card into protective custody and seek a yellow flag law?
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
I mean, that's why this is so lengthy. So I basically wrote a probable cause statement as my written statement to be sent to Saginaw County for the check well-being. I wanted them to have all the information that I had and so that they knew the entire history, so that they could see the progression of it. So that's why I say that.
Maine, a state where gun ownership is common for hunting and recreation, operates under a yellow flag law. It allows law enforcement to temporarily remove firearms if a person poses a threat and a medical evaluation supports it. But had Maine operated under a broader red flag law, one that allows quicker firearm intervention, this tragedy might have been prevented.
I found that his vehicle was not there. It didn't appear that anyone was home. I knocked on the door. There was no movement, no answer, nothing. Had the appearances that someone was not home. I was not there long enough to determine he wasn't there.
Then what did you do?
I went to his father's house to see if I could locate him, just in case he might be there. No one was home there. I put information into the Spillman system, our report system. I was able to get the email that Detective Bagley had sent me, and I cut and pasted that into my report.
And in terms of September contact with Sergeant Schofield, who actually did talk to him?
There's
The family.
video footage of him going to talk to my father briefly, and then Ryan had talked to him. I am not sure of the extent of all of that, but he did call him by phone.
Okay. And you're aware of that attempt to make contact with him?
Yes.
Okay.
So in this conversation that you had with Captain Reamer, was there any discussion about the yellow flag law?
No, ma'am.
Decision was made by Captain Reamer to ask the Saginaw County Sheriff's Office to conduct a well-being check on Sergeant Card at his residence to gauge his mental health and determine if he was a threat to himself or others. Is that correct?
That is correct.
But did you believe that a well-being check had to be done prior to seeking a yellow flag order, or based on what you had as reported by Sergeant Hodgson at this time, that there was enough to take him into protective custody?
So I believe there was, but the thing is, the deputies have to do a face-to-face with him to build their own probable cause. We did not have any authority to do a yellow flag law.
I understand that, but you could have had that discussion or made that request of Saginaw County, could you?
Yes, correct.
His second visit was on September 16th. A deputy arrived at Card's trailer, but he didn't answer the door. The officer could hear movement inside. Schofield placed a call to Captain Reamer. This is a portion of the recorded call.
So he doesn't have anything at the house?
In terms of all the weapons, this is kind of how it went down as far as I know. There was no real court order to take his weapons or anything like that. I was told his weapons had been moved out into a family member's place.
Okay.
Whether he has access to those at the family members, I don't know. But that's what, as far as I know, any weapons he had was supposed to be moved by his friend, Hodgson, who kind of started this whole thing, and then his brother, Ryan Card. I did speak with him yesterday, Card, and stated that, you know, he wasn't going to come to drill. And I was like, okay, that's fine. He sounded angry, definitely angry at people, but made no specific threats. Like, I'm going to come there and shoot if nobody does it. Yeah, nothing like that. And I just talked with my battalion commander and sergeant major. They like, as long as you can kind of, if you're out there, he's there. He can be uncooperative or whatever, but there's no sense in you guys pushing in and we just wanted to check well-being. If you can kind of tell he's there and alive, just kind of document it.
All right. Well, this just kind of sucks. I appreciate you calling me back, and it gives me some answers and a little bit to work with.
Given Card's reputation as a skilled marksman, the deputy called for backup from Kennebec County, nearly an hour away. In his report, he noted they chose to withdraw, writing, "Due to being in a very disadvantageous position, we decided to back away." After that discussion, Schofield decided the matter was no longer urgent. He went on vacation the next day.
So when you had a conversation with Moat after you sent this text to him, did you back off from anything that you said? Did you take back anything that you had written in the text?
No, I stood by that text.
When you spoke with Captain Reamer, did you back off or tone down anything that you had written in the text?
No.
You were really asking for a check well-being just to make sure that he's good, right?
Yes, I see that. Yep.
But you were asking more than that. You were asking for Saginaw Sheriff's Office to do more than just make sure that he's good, right?
Well, I was asking them to go out and put eyes on him and check his well-being.
And to see if he was a threat to himself or others.
Well, for them to make that determination, yes.
He's threatening the unit that's in Saco and other places with shooting them up, right?
That's what it says, yes.
With weapons.
Yes.
When was the next time you went to Saco?
The following day.
Okay. And you saw the Saco police officers?
I did, yes.
Because Card posed a threat to the unit.
We took the information that he had sent us in the text as serious, yes.
Did you have one conversation with Captain Reamer about this text or more?
I honestly don't remember. I talked to Captain Reamer and the first sergeant quite often.
Okay.
If I have a concern, I will call them. Or if I have questions, I knew that Captain Reamer and the first sergeant, being police officers and the positions that they're in, they would have more resources or more ideas, or at least who to contact for advice more than I would to get him out.
Did you find Sergeant Hodgson's accounting of Card's actions and stated intent credible at this time?
Based on the information I had and everything that had come before, yes.
So after speaking with Staff Sergeant Hodgson, he then contacted Major Tomac,
Sergeant Major Tolmack.
Tomac.
Yes. I sent him a text containing the text that I got from Hodgson and just explained to him, this is where we're at. This is kind of a continuation of events from West Point, and that I believe that we need to take this as a credible threat, and he agreed as well.
Is this before or after you spoke with Captain Reamer?
After, I believe, because I had also reached out to Sergeant Major at the battalion level.
So, Mr. Hodgson, I don't know if you had a chance to see it, but we have a transcript of Captain Reamer speaking with one of the SACO officers, explaining that he was taking your report with a grain of salt, and that he was not perhaps as concerned about it as the language might generally cause someone to be concerned. Do you know why he would take your word with a grain of salt?
No, I don't. You'd have to ask him.
You didn't tell him you were exaggerating.
No,
You didn't tell him you'd made it up.
no.
And in this conversation with Sergeant Reamer, was there any discussion of Staff Sergeant Hodgson's credibility?
Maybe a little bit. I mean, so to qualify that, this text came in at 2:04 in the morning. Staff Sergeant Hodgson, he drives a truck overnight. So he sleeps during the day, and he'll call us at random times during the night, 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. You know, it's very irritating to my wife. But
You too,
just-
I would imagine.
well, yes, but that's the job as a first sergeant, and I have to make myself available to my soldier. And so, you know, and sometimes it's just a vent or whatnot. So you never really know what he's going to call you to talk about, even though you answer the phone.
Well, what does that have to do with his credibility?
Nothing. It's just the fact that sometimes he calls about off the wall stuff and chit chats, just a vent.
And what was it about that you discussed about Hodgson's history?
Sergeant Hodgson drinks a lot. Not working. And sometimes he calls and he's intoxicated. And that coupled with the fact that, you know, it comes in at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. You know, you have to, what is that old saying? Take it with a grain of salt sometimes. But my belief was that this was a credible threat and that he was not only capable of carrying out this threat, that he conveyed it to Hodgson. And it's in line with everything else that had happened since July.
Then I did attempt to contact Sergeant Card that morning, called and left a message. Then later on, after I spoke with First Sergeant Moat, and at approximately 2 p.m., Sergeant Card had contacted me and called me, and I spoke with him. I asked him what was going on, and he stated that he was angry and frustrated with the events of the summer. That he didn't make any specific threats regarding shooting up any place. The only threat that I heard from him was Hunt Reed. And I asked him if he was going to be at the drill or battle assembly. He stated no. He stated he was going to have to work because of the hospitalization and having to, I guess, what I understood to be make more money. But he confirmed he wasn't going to be at drill.
Did you ever consider going outside, go to civilian side, like a mental health crisis resources? Or
I believe at one point I called 988. I just don't remember the exact date. That's a crisis line for anyone that needs.
And would you, I mean, again, rough estimate, would you think that's probably like September or August when you did
It was
that?
after I got punched in the face.
Okay. And do you remember the response you got?
They said they were going to call him. I gave him his information, the counselors and stuff, and that's all I heard.
Now, in document 3, your narrative, you said, to my knowledge, he has not sought, meaning Sergeant Card, any more treatment since being released. What was your basis for believing that he hadn't sought treatment since his release?
Sergeant Hodgson had told me that, you know, he wasn't taking his meds, and Sergeant Hodgson and I have had many conversations, and he, you know, one of those was about Card not taking his meds and stuff, not following up on his treatment program. And this was, maybe a day or so before this happened.
And you go on to say, I would rather err on the side of caution with regards to Card, since he is a capable marksman, and if he should set his mind to carry out the threats made to Hodgson, he would be able to do it. That's
Yes, ma'am.
right. Did you go to Saco, the Saco base for weekend drill the weekend of September 1st?
No, I had a work conflict.
And do you recall his telling you that Sergeant Schofield was going to call the Saco barracks and the feds as well?
Yes.
And who did you understand the feds to be?
The FBI, because of the threat was made against the United States Army Reserve facility.
After a conversation with Deputy Schofield on September 16th, did you hear anything further about any action taken by the Saco, Saginaw County Sheriff's Office?
No, ma'am, I did not.
But he didn't make any specific threats in his conversation with you.
No.
Okay.
Just that he was angry and he wanted to punch Sergeant Reed.
Did you have drill or battle assembly in August?
Not in August. We had it in September.
That's on Saturday morning.
Saturday morning. So when I got off the highway, off of 95 there, you loop it around and there's Saco police at the red light there. And then we get down to the next red light, there's Saco police everywhere. Turn into the armory and there's Saco police in the rec center next door. And I'm like, what is happening right now? Like, it was so weird. And then I went in and somebody pulled me aside and said that there was a threat made on the Saco armory.
What steps did you take to protect the unit if Robert Card showed up?
Well, upon driving in that day, noticed that Saco Police Department were in the area. So I had informed everybody, or at least the leadership that was there, of the threat. But I also indicated that I did speak with Sergeant Card the day prior, where he stated that, that he wasn't going to be arriving. He wasn't going to be here.
The police came into the unit too. And I spoke to Captain Reamer, and Captain Reamer, they had a plan for me to get out of there if Card did show up. He said it was not likely that he was going to show up, but what they were going to do is just separate us, like get me out the back door if he did show up. So I was on along the lines that he was just mad. He was like blaming us that he had to go to Four Winds. He had a vendetta against us. It was our fault that all that happened, but like I said, I thought it was going to be a fist fight, not a shooting. But it just sounded like he was really starting to spiral.
You were intent on getting Card to a mental health evaluation in July. In New York.
Intended, and we did, yes.
Okay. And the facts in September were more dire in some regards, weren't they?
Well, the text message we took seriously that came from Hodgson, yes.
So why not suggest that he get blue papered or some sort of mental health evaluation?
Because I trusted that the law enforcement, based on the information they get, that they would take it and run with whatever policy and however they wanted to handle it.
Despite repeated warnings the Army received, no action was taken to assist local law enforcement with the safety risks Robert Card posed.
Card said he has guns and is going to shoot up the drill center at Saco and other places, right?
Yes.
Did you think that constituted terrorizing under Maine law?
Again, that depends. I threaten to kill my kids all the time. If you don't clean your room, I'm going to kill you. In what context was the seriousness of the comment taken? Someone would have had to say, I want to make a complaint or terrorizing or threatening complaint. No one called us about it, and no one reported it to either Saco, the potential victims, or notified the police department.
You asked for a well-being check. Why not ask for more?
Because that was, at the time, my conversations with both my first sergeant as well as my battalion leadership, that was what we were looking for.
If somebody says that he has guns and is going to shoot up the drill center at Saco, that would constitute terrorizing, wouldn't it?
I believe it would, sir. Yes. As long as the recipients of the crime feel as though it would.
And you learned that they did, right?
No one wanted to press charges.
The investigative panel's inquiries continue to unwrap troubling issues of miscommunication and passing the buck between the Army and law enforcement.
Why not ask for a psych evaluation?
Because I would not dictate how a police do their job.
Did you at any time during this period have a conversation with Captain Reamer about the yellow flag law?
We may have talked about it. Captain Remorse actually lives in New Hampshire. They don't have that there. So we may have talked about it, but I can't remember the conversation if we did.
Well, according to Captain Reamer, you had a conversation in which you said it's very, very difficult to do, and you have to find the right cop to do it. There's a lot of work and a lot of paperwork that comes with it. It can be done, but it has to be done by the officer in that county or whoever's in the jurisdiction.
I do remember that, yes, ma'am.
And when would you have had that conversation?
Or after filing the check will be a request.
But that was not intended on your part to discourage seeking a yellow flag order because you yourself had successfully obtained one. Is that correct?
That was in frustration and talking with my commander. That was me being frustrated.
Frustrated about what?
That it hadn't been done yet.
He kind of phrased it as it's a not impossible, but difficult process from what my understanding. Again, I don't know the Maine yellow flag law.
I have not had a threat that has resulted in a harm like this to someone in my career. I mean, this is unprecedented. People don't follow through with threats like that. People make threats regularly. People are oftentimes alarmists.
I requested that they do a check well-being, expecting them to do their job. I would not tell them how to do their job.
I remember telling dispatch that it was not as urgent as it was originally sounded when it was given to us.
Sharing information with the Saginaw Sheriff's Office. Would you do something differently in retrospect?
No, I mean, at the time when I provided them all the information, now, because mind you, obviously, I think everyone can be understand that when we're talking now today, we're looking through the lens that he was a shooter at the time. But at that time, that had not occurred yet. So my conversations with them were based off of the information I had at that time. So I don't necessarily think I would have changed anything because I relied on the local law enforcement to do their job. And I think anyone in the unit, when we reached out for a check well-being, expected them to do their job.
Common sense goes a long way in a lot of different scenarios, and it seems to have gone completely out the window in the rules that we're creating, the laws that we're creating to protect people and their rights and this, that, and the other. Eventually, you just need to drop the ego. We all need to communicate.
So you don't think you were minimizing the threat when you were talking to the Saco PD?
My intention was not to minimize or anything of that nature.
Why not suggest that they charge Card with threatening?
It was not in my thought process at that time to pursue charges. Regarding charges was never brought up either by the Saco Police Department or me.
You've called Hodges an honest man, right?
He is an honest man in regards to his mistakes that he has made. I will say he is an honest man regarding that, and that he is honestly is expressed his concern for Sergeant Card.
He was a genuinely good friend to Card.
He was, I would agree.
And he had no motivation to lie or exaggerate.
I can't speak to his motives.
But at some point, did you learn that Sergeant Card did not show up at the base?
Yes, Captain Reamer did tell me that because even though I wasn't there and I was working, I was still in contact with Captain Reamer.
Since, as of that date, no contact had yet been made by the Saginaw County Sheriff's Office with Sergeant Carr. Did you contact the Sheriff's Office to inquire as to what their plans were?
No, ma'am, I did not.
Why not?
Law enforcement community, if I make a complaint to you or do a request, if I tell you how to do your job, you're going to hang up on me.
Well, it isn't a matter of telling them to do their job. Did you make any inquiry as to what they thought their continuing job was?
I did not. Detective Bagley actually did the check well-being request, so I backed away and let him handle that.
Now, I heard you say several times during the course of this discussion that it was your obligation to take care of the service members under your supervision.
Yes, ma'am.
What during this time frame did you do to take care of Robert Card when you believed that he was continuing to suffer from a mental illness and was a continuing threat to himself and others?
That's a good question. The request for the check well-being was what I did because while we're not under orders or on drill weekend, I have no authority over him. I can't go down and kick in his door and go in. That's why I had the request made of the Saginaw County Sheriff's Department to do that check well-being, to gauge his mental fitness or his mental health and to see if he was still on that path that he needed help. Psychological help. If that's what it came to.
But they didn't do anything.
No, ma'am.
So what did you do?
There's nothing I could do. I mean, I had no authority over them.
Well, we've discussed the Army Reservist psychological program that you're familiar with.
Yes, ma'am.
You could have contacted them, could you not?
Yes, I could have.
Because they're a resource that the Army Reserve makes available to service members and their families in exactly these sorts of situations. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, on paper.
Mode and other soldiers may have reason to believe the Army's mental health program, also known as PHP, to be ineffective. On September 21st, after leaving messages for Card and him not responding, his PHP case manager closed his file without notifying anyone in Card's battalion.
Well, on paper, but you never contacted.
No, because I contacted Saginaw County Sheriff's Department and asked them to do a check well-being.
So when you passed it off to Saginaw County Sheriff's Office, you felt that you had handled the situation.
Yes, ma'am.
So focusing on the time period between September 17th and October 25th. Following September 17th, did you have any contact with Robert Card?
No, I reached out again a couple more times, just on the off chance that he'd answer my call, but he never answered my call.
It wasn't until September 23rd that he messaged me back something along the lines of, if you really cared about me, you would find these effing people online who were saying
No,
these things.
September. You said.
That was September.
Okay.
I heard rumors that after the West Point thing, like he was on the verge of retirement. He got his 20-year letter. I was there when he opened it. He was so happy that he got it. 20-year letter means you can submit your retirement packet in the Army. And but I heard that he worked out a deal with the unit that, you know, he was just going to retire and just, you know, fade off. Like they weren't going to give him use for battle assembly. They just let him just retire and you know, that was it.
October 25th, the night of the shootings. How did you first find out about the shootings?
There was police everywhere that night. In the back of my head, I thought Card, but like it wasn't like definite, you know, like there was a few grainy images of surveillance cameras. So I called Hodgson and I was like, hey, are you at work right now? Did you see Card's vehicle in the parking lot? Have you talked to him? as I was on the phone with Hodgson, my wife took 2 photos. She took the photo from that picture when he was holding that rifle in the mirror of the bathroom, and then one of the surveillance photos, and she put a collage together. And she texted it to me, and I texted it to Hodgson, because if anybody is going to pick out card, Hodgson's going to pick out card.
I just saw a line of police cars and ambulances going every which way. And she goes, "There's an active shooter." I know it was caught. She said, I knew it was him because of the places that she was naming off that were being hit.
What was the next thing you heard about Robert Card?
So the 25th, week of October. That's the last time, the next time I got a text from Hodgson with a photograph.
He told me to let things play out. We don't know for sure it was him. I don't see that, you know, because knowing Card for what he was, not the monster that he became, I don't know that person. His train of thought is like the Card that we knew, that we lost prior to making those shootings. And he's like, let it play out. You don't know that for a fact. I was like, yes, I do. I don't believe in coincidences.
And the photograph was of a guy with hair and a beard committing murder. And he said it was Robert Card. I've never seen Card with hair or beard. So at first my brain was like, no, it's not him.
At what point did you learn that it was him?
Shortly thereafter.
And what was your reaction at that time? Oh,
Broke my heart. I was mad at Sergeant Card. We gave him options. We got him to a hospital. Nobody else did that. We gave him the opportunity for treatment, and he denied it, refused it, and wouldn't move along with it. And then he took it out on innocent people.
so did you feel at all sad for Sergeant Card that the help his family had started seeking back in May from the Army was not provided?
That night, no.
At some point, did you change your mind?
I wouldn't say I changed my mind. No, I didn't change my mind. No. Those people are innocent. We're soldiers. We protect and defend. And I understand mental health issues. I get that. Hurt innocent people.
We could ask a million whys for the rest of our lives and never have a good enough answer. As Colby's mom, I'm furious at him. But I didn't expect myself to feel sad for him. And I'll just ask you to consider who that's coming from and the history that that's coming from. My son. And what's really encouraging to me is that he's starting to remember and talk about some of the good things from his time with his dad and try and share those with us when the situation arises. I think it's incredibly important to make sure that he keeps those connections of that time that was good with his dad, because that was the majority of his life, was just good times with his dad.
He didn't believe me when I said he was sick. Not crazy. I want to address something that has been confirmed following investigations. Robbie was indeed facing harassment from coworkers who mistakenly identified a name on the sex offender list that closely matched his age. Despite my efforts, I didn't expand my search wide enough to discover this until October 25th, when that same person had been mistakenly identified as R. Robert Card II. While it's unclear whether this revelation would have changed the outcome given Robbie's heightened paranoia and stress exacerbated by his new hearing aids, it highlights the pervasive issue of bullying and harassment in workplaces everywhere. I acknowledge my responsibility as Robbie's sister. I wish I had done everything in my power to get him the help he needed. My pride prevented me from seeking help after facing rejection. The pervasive culture of toughness and stigma surrounding seeking help exasperates the problem. Additionally, the impact of our own training on soldiers' mental health is deeply concerning. Senators highlight that 75% troops' blast exposure come from their own weapons. Soldiers endure symptoms including headaches, insomnia, confusion, memory loss, balance issues, racing hearts, paranoia, depression, and emotional outburst. The revelation that the Department of Defense nearly treated 50,000 soldiers for traumatic brain injury in 2023 is alarming, and it raises questions about why this information isn't more widely known. Had Rob or his unit recognized the signs and symptoms, they could have intervened differently. Robbie's fear of appearing mentally unstable likely exacerbated his condition. It's imperative to ensure that such injuries aren't concealed to protect the military's image, which is why I support the Blast Overpressure Safety Act. Blast overpressure is the pressure caused by a shock wave above normal atmospheric pressure, and it is most commonly caused by explosions or sonic booms. This type of exposure can happen during combat, but they are finding it among our soldiers who have never served in combat, only training of this type of weaponry. The exact frequency remains unclear, with no records documenting our soldiers detonating these weapons, only if the weapons successfully detonate. Blast overpressure is a grave concern leading to tragic outcome of Robbie's incident, but frequently results in our soldiers' suicides. An Army investigator emphasized to me that had my brother not been involved in the deaths of 18 people, we wouldn't be having this conversation. This moment ignited a mission within me to uncover the deeper meaning behind his death and the death of the 18 others. Learning about the extent of his brain damage only solidified my resolve to assist other soldiers and their families grappling with similar struggles. The harsh reality is that 17 soldiers die by suicide a day. A day. With those suffering with traumatic brain injury being twice as likely to take their own lives. It's important to acknowledge that Robbie's decline involved other factors, and I'm not here to excuse his behavior. However, it's vital to understand that not everyone with this type of brain injury exhibits dangerous behavior like Robbie did. Robbie faced potential exposure to shock waves, around 180 per season, during the last 9 years of training cadets at West Point. I've heard that he could have been exposed to up to 1,000. However, it's significant to note that leading neuropathologists from Boston University was particularly intrigued by Robbie's case. Despite never serving in combat, his brain injury was more severe than those typically observed in combat veterans injured in war by IEDs.
It appeared in your remarks that you and your family have been in somewhat regular contact with a neuropathologist or Boston University. Is that right?
I've had 2 meetings with her, and we've been talking about her keeping Rob's brain for research.
Yeah.
And she said that she would keep us posted on anything that she finds pertaining to that.
Was it in the course of those communications that they expressed the severity of his TBI, that it was worse than even some combat veterans? Was
Yes,
it,
ma'am.
okay, those folks at Boston University?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That was the first thing that they had brought up.
Wow. Okay.
That's how she basically opened it.
After we all spoke with Dr. McKee at the University of Boston and heard what she had to say about, she was really glad to be given, that the Maine medical examiner said, I'd rather somebody else put eyes on this, please, give me your opinion, look at this. And she did a very thorough job looking for, a specific thing that it turns out he didn't have CTE at all. She found no evidence of that, but what she did see told her that this person had been deteriorating in this part of their anatomy for a long, long time. This didn't just happen overnight. It was a gradual deterioration of very important bits of his brain that affected who he became, how he thought, how he reacted, how he acted.
You said that you were relying on family members to remove the guns from Card's house. Is that right?
Yes, the plan was to have the family remove the weapons.
Explain the plan.
From my understanding from speaking with Staff Sergeant Hodgson, he had coordinated after speaking with Card in the hospital. And Card consented to and the family agreed to remove the firearms from his personally owned home.
Okay. So how did that come about in terms of your conversation with Hodgson? Why was Hodgson involved?
Hodgson decided to fill me in on and call me and update me on what was happening or his conversations with Card.
While Card was in the hospital?
Yes, because Card was only speaking with him.
Okay. Did you try to reach Card directly?
No, I did not try to reach Card directly, no.
Okay. And Mode was a good first sergeant for you, right?
Yes.
Why didn't you have him be in charge of the removal of the guns?
In the Army Reserve, we have no authority or jurisdiction over the firearms. So to have him remove the firearms, we can't. We don't have the authority to do so.
It's a gun issue where you mentioned that you did speak to the father who said, yes, I'll take the guns. That's all you got. Was there confirmation that he actually did that?
No, I trusted that they were gonna, because it's not abnormal for his weapons to be stored at his father's.
Mm-hmm.
So once he said, okay,
And did you know how much weapons he had?
Not exactly, because I knew he had some at his father's.
Okay.
I didn't know the exact number that he had at his home.
And did you have a conversation with Robert Card Sr. about that plan?
He said, okay, and I did text it to him.
He's
Robert Card's father, when I called him to ensure that they were removed, and he's like, yep, or said, okay, and then there wasn't much conversation at all. So I took it as they were removed.
I just want to state again that regarding his personally owned firearms, as an Army Reserve officer, I have no jurisdiction or authority over those personal firearms of his.
Right. But it was recommended by the Army that you do what you could to see to it that those firearms were removed from his house, right?
Yes, that was there. That was mentioned.
To this day, do you know whether the firearms were ever removed from Card's house?
I do not.
In September, just weeks before the attack, Card's father attempted to intervene, trying to take away his son's guns, but Card became enraged and forced his father off the property. The weapons were never removed.
How convenient for everybody to be talking about being law enforcement at home and then coming to work as people's commanding officers, and yet none of them told all the bits of this story when they decided to talk about it. When they decided to call Saco PD because there was a threat, they didn't tell them steps A through Z had already occurred. How does that happen? What were we protecting? What were we protecting? Why would we not talk about this? Why would we not share everything about this?
Tell us about that phone call with Card. Did you ask him if he'd been getting any treatment?
I did not during that conversation. No, sir.
Did you ask him where the guns were?
I did not during that conversation. No.
Why not?
Just the way that the conversation led. I did not.
Did you ask him why he wasn't attending his appointments?
During that conversation, I did not.
And you didn't ask him about medications?
I did not, no.
Okay.
Now, on October 23rd, Detective Bagley spoke with you about Sergeant Card, did he not?
Yeah.
And what was that conversation?
He just let me know that the contact still hadn't been made and the file 6 was still out there.
Were your concerns about Sergeant Card's threats against you resolved?
No.
And why were they not resolved, in your opinion?
Contact was never made with Card. Period. That's contact was never made with Card.
There was no communication. Why there's all these different sheriff's departments, state police, all these different organizations that had interactions or information about Rob in a 5-6 month period, and none of them communicated amongst one another or shared that information. What? Why? Why? There's no good explanation for it.
On September 15th, 2023, you received the email early in the morning from Sergeant Hodgson.
The text message.
Yeah, the text, sorry. Did you ever speak with Hodgson about that at any time before October 25th? Directly with Hodgson?
Oh, before 20.
Yes, before the
I
shooting.
cannot recall that I had a conversation with Hodgson specifically about that.
You have said on a couple of occasions that you expected the law enforcement here in Maine to do their job.
Mm-hmm.
Was it your job to complete the developmental counseling form?
That was a requirement of me, yes.
Did you do that?
I did not.
And was it your job to ensure that Card followed through with the mental health treatment that had been ordered him, that he had been ordered to comply with by the Army?
Was to supervise and to follow up with that, yes.
That was your job?
It's part of my job, yes.
Did you do that?
I personally did not follow up with him regarding that.
Did you delegate it to anyone who did?
I personally did not delegate that to anyone.
Okay, thank you.
It felt important for us to be here today for the victims and their families and the public to have reference from lots of different people, especially after watching and listening to a lot of the other testimony by the people that are going to be dealing with this the next time. And I'm not saying that to be negative or cruel or any of those things. It's the world that we're living in. Somehow unhappy people and unwell people, this has become a new option on the list of how to end it, how to get out of their own grief or issues. There's the mass shootings. With Rob, he believed that these people were against him, but he believed that all of us were against him. He lost his relationships with the people that have loved him throughout his entire life, that he's lived down the road from his entire life. And it wasn't because he chose to do that. Something in him went very wrong. I didn't share my kid all those years with that person who did that. And this continues after he did what he did. And after he's gone, there's this massive mess for us to try and piece together based on very, very little. The separation between his civilian life and his Army Reserve life, yes, we all know that there is a massive separation there. It felt like I was taking him and taking this problem to the people that could direct us to the appropriate place. I'm not sure that we have an appropriate place for those inappropriate questions. And if I can't get anything else out but this, that's the whole point of this. Sitting here and exposing more of ourselves, trying to protect my son and all of this, it all has to matter. There's gonna be a next time in some capacity. Whether it's somebody going to ask for help because they're concerned for somebody that they care about, or they've had a scenario happen that they're worried about somebody's mental health. What's the answer going to be the next time? What is going to be said to them? Because what was said to us was, well, there's only so much you can do. Really, our hands are kind of tied. He hasn't directly threatened you. He hasn't physically laid his hands on you. He hasn't pointed a gun at you. Well, he wouldn't have. It didn't mean that the concerns that my son brought to me were not incredibly valid.
On August of 2024, after months of interviews, the state's investigative committee issued its final report.
Card is solely responsible for his own conduct. He caused the deaths and injuries inflicted that night. Although he might still have committed a mass shooting even if someone had managed to remove Card's firearms before October 25, 2023, there were several opportunities that, if taken, might have changed the course of events. The Commission affirms its earlier unanimous finding that in September 2023, the Sagadahoc County Sheriff's Office had sufficient probable cause to take Card into protective custody under Maine's yellow flag law and to initiate a petition to confiscate any firearms he possessed or over which he had control. Several law enforcement officials testified that the yellow flag law is cumbersome, inefficient, and unduly restrictive regarding who can initiate a proceeding to limit a person's access to firearms. Further, the Sagadahoc County Sheriff's Office is justified in pointing out that the Army Reserve did not share all the relevant information it had about Card's behavior. Nevertheless, under the circumstances existing and known to the Sagadahoc County Sheriff's Office in September of 2023, the yellow flag law authorized the Sagadahoc County Sheriff's Office to start the process of obtaining a court order to remove Card's firearms. The Commission further finds that the leaders of Card's Army Reserve unit failed to undertake necessary steps to reduce the threat he posed to the public. his commanding officers were well aware of his auditory hallucinations, increasingly aggressive behavior, collection of guns, and ominous comments about his intentions. Despite their knowledge, they ignored the strong recommendations of Card's Army mental health providers to stay engaged with his care and make sure that steps are taken to remove weapons from his home. They neglected to share with the Sagadahoc County Sheriff's Office all the information relating to Card's threatening behavior and actually discounted some of the evidence about the threat posed by Card. Had they presented a full and complete accounting of the facts, the Sagadahoc County Sheriff's Office might have acted more assertively in September. While the Army Reserve leaders correctly point out that their authority over a reservist like Card is not as broad as the authority the military has over their active duty service members, they failed to take advantage of the available opportunities to exercise their authority over him.
The Army Reserve issued their own investigation and presented their finding to the public on July 23, 2024. While 3 officers were disciplined for dereliction of duty, the Army Reserve did not provide their names.
So, good afternoon. I'm Lieutenant General Jody Daniels, Chief of Army Reserve and the Commanding General of the U.S. Army Reserve Command. Our investigating officer was unable to interview several key family members and other civilian witnesses who all declined interviews. The Army and the Army Reserve do not have the authority to compel their participation in our investigation. This investigation made several findings and subsequent recommendations that I will now cover. First, while unit leadership took several consistent and sustained actions to address Sergeant Card's deteriorating mental health, his mental state, there were also a series of failures by unit leadership. I have held members of the chain of command accountable by taking appropriate administrative actions against the officers found derelict in their duties. These adverse administrative actions have the potential to prevent further military advancements of those officers. Second, the report identified procedural breakdowns in Sergeant First Class Card's medical care, which I have identified and shared with the Defense Health Agency and the Army Surgeon General. I have recommended these offices update their procedures for case management to account for the unique aspect of reserve component soldiers who are under federal jurisdiction for only a limited amount of time during the year. Third, the investigation found that several U.S. Army Reserve programs were insufficiently followed. For instance, procedures for serious incident reports were not followed, nor was attendance at pre-command courses emphasized. Also, the Army Reserve Psychological Health Program Office did not adequately review Sergeant Card's medical records prior to closing his case, which they did due to Sergeant Card's unresponsiveness. The investigation determined the chain of command had an incorrect understanding of their authorities for storing personal weapons and their authorities under the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, or HIPAA. I ordered procedural updates and reviews of these policies, as well as retraining of what is called the Military Command Exception regarding HIPAA for all commanders and legal advisors in the 108th Training Command, the parent organization which Sergeant Card was assigned. Finally, a key aspect of the findings and recommendations is the fact that a U.S. Army Reserve soldier is only in a duty status for about 38 days per year, and outside of that duty status, unit commanders have no legal authority to compel soldiers to undergo medical treatment, to execute follow-on care, or surrender personally owned weapons, regardless of the circumstances. This is a complex challenge and one of the main reasons that unit leadership, in their civilian capacity, requested that the Sagadahoc County Sheriff's Office conduct wellness checks on Sergeant First Class Card.
There's no common sense in protecting the things that we are. We've lost there's a huge gap in the cause and effect that we're setting up in place. This is the perfect moment for all of us to do better and to learn. And it's an awful moment in all of our lives. So I really hope that somebody with enough power, more power than I, can help remove some heads out of asses and get some shit done because this is enough.
In the wake of the massacre, Maine lawmakers amended the yellow flag law, giving law enforcement more flexibility to act in the face of mental health crises. But for many, these changes come too late. On October 15, 2024, 4 law firms representing survivors and families of the victims held a joint press conference. They announced their intent to sue the Department of Defense, the U.S. Army Reserves, and Keller Army Hospital. Under federal law, the claimants have 6 months to respond to these filings. As of July 2025, no formal lawsuit has been filed, but the attorneys have made it clear legal action is coming.
This report is dedicated to the memory of the 18 persons killed on October 25, 2023 at Just-in-Time Recreation and Shemenki's Bar and Grill in Lewiston, Maine.
Ronald Morin, Peyton Brewer Ross, Joseph Walker, Arthur Strout, Max Hathaway, Keith McNair, Joshua Seal, Brian McFarland, Stephen Boisella, William Brackett, Thomas Conrad, Michael Delorier, Jason Walker, Tricia Aslin, William Young, Aaron Young, Robert Violet, Lucille Violet.
The state of Maine and the nation mourned with the Lewiston community on that tragic day. We continue to do so